Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult, video 209, You Can Succeed. Just a little pep talk here for people. As seasonal effective season encroaches for those of us north of the Mason-Dixon line, and in most other northern climes of the world, I'm looking outside, it's snowing, it's bleak, it's cloudy, it's like, I need a double dose of chamomile and plenty of beer today. It's like, hey, you can feel a little bit depressed, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about my own story for people who don't already know. And that's probably most of you, because I think the last time I spoke of it, I had like 100,000 subscribers. Now it's like, getting up towards 350,000. Getting up towards that next mark. 330,000 by the end of the year is now achievable. It's way ahead of my projections. I expected 270. So, knocked it out of the park in that one, I guess. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit, though, about my story and about how you can succeed. And the reason it's in the Occult playlist is this. It's prefaced on my rediscovery of spirituality. Post-overdose, for those of you who don't know, many years ago, I think it was 2010, late in the year, I suffered a major overdose and almost died. For several years thereafter, I struggled with the most severe depression and social anxiety. There was about a month there where I didn't make any YouTube videos. That was the reason, post-OD. First video when I came back was just me aiming the webcam out the breezeway window silently at some snowfall. I think it was the end of November, if I remember correctly. Not 100% sure, I'd have to look back through it. But I suffered anhedonia. I couldn't feel happy. By the way, you should look that up. It's actually really interesting. Derealization, like it just felt like the world wasn't real. Depression, I broke down multiple times. And social anxiety in the most severe sense. In fact, I had anxiety even unrelated to being in society. I was a total agoraphobe, basically, for a couple of years. It's better now. I feel back to normal. In fact, I feel happier than before I was using these substances, which might be because I'm sober now. By the way, don't do drugs, kids. Yeah. But it was definitely a lot of adversity. And coupled with that was the fact that I dropped out of college. Was jobless, couldn't find a job because, we're talking post-recession economy. I'm a college dropout with no real marketable skills in the sense of Rutland commerce. Being here, a lot of it's just automotive and culinary. I don't know how to cook anything. I don't know how to work on a car. I tried to be a delivery driver, was optioned for one of those jobs, but then coincidentally it was around that time when I first was going to become like a $15 an hour delivery driver, which would have been an okay job for me. You put on your music, you go deliver the shit, it gets offloaded, and you go back to the fucking factory or whatever. It would have been fairly local within Rutland County. It would have been decent income for the area. $15 an hour is quite a bit for an entry-level worker here. Mostly it's like you'll get $11 an hour if you're lucky. I think minimum wage in Vermont's $10.50 if I remember correctly. So 15's like, you can afford the Budweiser instead of the 40 ounces of malt liquor, basically. It was around that time that my book sales actually began to spike, and I'm like, well, now I think that I'm starting to have a little success. I'm just going to plow away at it. It's going to take months, and I was facing pressure even from my own family. It's like, sort of get a job, get out there and get the 9 to 5, to help us out because we were poor at the time. Then they weren't talking that way for very long, though, because I started making more money off book sales than I would have made at any of the minimum wage jobs that I'd be privy to. I had succeeded. I had begun to succeed. How did this happen? It was twofold. Despite all of the adversity around me, including a legal battle over this property making me worry about being homeless, two things. The rediscovery of my spirituality, not religion, not theism, don't need a god, don't need to join a church or a temple or something, just spirituality, the acknowledging that spiritual forces had played a role in my life, number one, giving me the courage to do things, and number two, and I know it sounds cliche, and you should try this, it really did work in my case. I'm not making guarantees for you, but it can work. I've seen it myself. I allowed myself to succeed. I had the talent. I had things that I could market, that I could do. I simply hadn't allowed myself to do them. I wasn't making as much serious content in a video form because I'm like, well, who's going to take me seriously? Now I'm like, I don't even need to take myself seriously. I fucking just rip my shirt off, I fucking wear, boomer camo shirts from the 80s or a leather jacket. I can have weird shit around me. It's like, fucking who cares? People listen to me. It's pretty great. I allowed myself to do that. I don't want to take myself too seriously. People say, tone it down. Stop saying fuck so much. No, fuck you, basically is what I would say. And then in writing, I had already had all of this literary material. I spoke of this, early on, years ago, I think. A lot of those editions that I released early, the reason I was able to release them so quickly is that some of them had already been partially or fully edited before. I had transcribed the documents and made my own versions of them already. So there, I had like 30 or 40 books already complete before I started. And so I was able to succeed more easily, I suppose. It took a little bit less effort because I had spent years doing that as a pet project anyway, sort of cleaning up these materials. But I had never thought to release them because I figured, hey, ultimately, I'm not a publisher. I don't have an English degree. No one's going to take me seriously. If I write a book, I'll be the only one that reads it. Or maybe my family or a friend or something. I give them a copy for their birthday and they're like, ah, and they burn it in the fireplace. No one will read my books. No one will take them seriously enough to read them. Nobody will read edits that I make of other works because, some other person has already done it and they'll be taken seriously because they'll have like a master's in English or something. They'll be a professor or something. I wasn't allowing myself to use the talent that I had to succeed. Now I've succeeded. I sell thousands of books every month. But I could have kept doubting myself and just said, well, no, it's never going to happen, so fuck it. And said, well, it'll take too long. It'll be too hard. So now I understand. Some people, because I was essentially, unemployed for a couple of years doing this self-employed sort of stuff before I succeeded. I understand some people aren't in a fiscally indulgent enough situation to do that, but trust me, it came at a price. It was basically a ramen existence there for several years. I almost lost hope many times. There were times when I buckled down like, okay, this isn't going to work. Selling 10 books a month is not going to cut it. I'm going to end up homeless. I need to do something else. And I went out and pounded the pavement, like the boomers would say, and tried to get a job. And thankfully, I never got any callbacks. Essentially, it's like, what's your resume? Oh, I wrote some books. So they're available on Amazon. It's not unhireable, basically. And now I'm truly unhireable. It's like now I can't be anything but self-employed unless if I were to lose the stuff that I'm doing now, I would have to appeal to people who know me from online and say, hey, can I relocate there and work for you? Can I be a consultant? I don't have I don't have a degree, but, I'm Styx Hexenhammer, so at least I know about branding. Maybe you should hire me. Go into e-commerce or something. I work for Alibaba. Maybe Bezos would hire me. That would be funny. Hey, you sold enough books. Okay, we'll let you be the janitor or something. By the way, janitorial work? Around Rutland. I wanted to be like a night janitor. I'm like, well, that'd work. I don't have to interact with anyone. I just clean shit and leave. And you get a fairly decent amount of pay. Night janitors actually make out like bandits after a few years, especially if you get work for the school system. You're talking like fucking $18 an hour to start. You wouldn't believe it because it's technically hazardous duty. You're dealing with bleach and fucking ammonia and so, mix it together and you can very much hurt yourself. I tried to do that. It's like a 2 years experience required. And the one time I got a call back, and it was like, oh, I'm actually going to manage to get like a $15 an hour job. This is going to be great. I showed up to the place where the meeting was supposed to be. I couldn't find the people at all. Like I would have otherwise been a janitor. There'd be no Styx Hexenhammer. But I managed to succeed. And this is another reason why I sort of believe in the spiritual more. There were plenty of opportunities for me to sabotage the success I was having at doing this and writing books by getting the 9-to-5 job. And every single time, magically, something thwarted it from happening. And I just call that Stolas. When I make that reference, that's what I'm talking about. I believe that there is some sort of guidance, some sort of spiritual force behind it. I don't care if people think it sounds weird or superstitious. Look, some of you people believe in an invisible man in the sky ruling your life. Okay, I'm going to hedge my bets on what I believe in being less weird than that. I don't care if yours is more mainstream. Bandwagon effect has no effect on me. In case you haven't noticed, I'm not exactly an orthodox, regular individual. I think that probably helps to some extent. But trust me, you can do it. If me, a fucking weird hippie who wears no shirt sometimes and was almost homeless and almost died because he was, abusing drugs at one point. If I can succeed, trust me, you got nothing to worry about. A lot, 90% of you have it, better. You're more stable than I am. You probably don't come from a family where there was already significant, one step from impoverishment, basically, since the time I was born. That's not a happy situation to be in. That's why I refuse. It's another reason I can't be conservative. I refuse to look down on people who have less money than me. I refuse, because I know what it's like to have literally nothing. It's like, yeah, I don't even own a wallet. I can't afford a wallet. You have these situations, but you can claw your way out of them. You just have to allow yourself to succeed. Not everyone will. There is a chance of failure. But use your head. You're smarter than you think, probably. You're probably also more attractive than you rate yourself, unless you're a total narcissist. So yeah, you should put yourself on camera. Yeah, you should write a book. Yeah, you should do something. Do whatever you're interested in that you're not doing because you think you'll fail. Just try it. And then try it again a few times. Eventually, if you succeed at all, you might become an ambitious workaholic and start developing worse insomnia because you'll just want to work all the time at what you're doing because you've succeeded. And it feels good. It gives you a real ego boost, trust me. It's almost like getting a rush. It's pretty great. That's about all. Peace out.